Hi everyone, am I audible to everyone here?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है. It's clearly audible ना, बता देना. Kanav, are you there?
हाँ जी भैया।
ठीक है. Great. So welcome to everyone uh, to this first class of Logical Sprint. And I also want to tell you this class is also obviously going live on YouTube side by side. सो हमें सबको पता ही है कि लॉजिकल रीजनिंग सेक्शन थोड़ा सा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड सेक्शन हो जाता है क्लैट के अंदर. एंड वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट रीजंस फॉर दैट इज कि ये एक ऐसी चीज है जो हमें प्रॉब्ली स्कूल में भी नहीं पढ़ाई जाती, राइट. एंड इसमें कुछ कॉन्सेप्ट्स है आर्ग्यूमेंट्स के, प्रेमाइस के, कंक्लूजन, एजम्पशन, जो मतलब इट सो क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग का एक छोटा एस्पेक्ट ये है कि इट इज सब्जेक्टिव इन नेचर. ठीक है, सब्जेक्टिव इन नेचर मतलब कि मुझे अगर कोई चीज लगती है कि ये चीज राइट होनी चाहिए, दूसरे पर्सन को वो चीज बिल्कुल गलत लग सकती है. एंड दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट रीजन व्हाई सो मेनी पीपल स्ट्रगल लॉजिकल रीजनिंग सेक्शन के अंदर, खासकर क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग है. अब हम सबको पता है कि लॉजिकल रीजनिंग इज ऑफ टू टाइप्स, एनालिटिकल रीजनिंग एंड क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग. एनालिटिकल रीजनिंग हमारी थोड़ी बहुत मैथमेटिकल एबिलिटीज को टेस्ट करता है. इट्स वेरी मच ऑब्जेक्टिव इन नेचर. उसमें एक ही आंसर होता है. जैसे एक हमारे पास टॉपिक है एनालिटिकल रीजनिंग के अंदर, डायरेक्शंस. तो डायरेक्शंस के अंदर वी ऑल नो कि यार कि अगर सन 12 बजे से पहले ईस्ट में होता है तो वो ईस्ट में ही होता है, एंड इट इज देयर फॉर एवरीवन. बट क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग के अंदर एक बहुत कॉमन एग्जांपल ये हो सकता है कि जब आप किसी से आर्गुमेंट करते हो, किसी से बहस करते हो, एंड यू आर ट्राइंग टू कन्विंस दैट पर्सन, तो वहां पे क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग का यूज होता है. एंड आपके एग्जाम में आप, बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ यू हियर वांट टू गिव क्लैट एंड यू वांट टू बी लॉयर्स, लॉ के अंदर क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग ही काम आती है, एंड उसी का यूजेज सबसे ज्यादा है. एंड आपके केस में क्या होगा यहाँ पे, इन क्लैट का जो क्वेश्चन पेपर होता है उसके अंदर आपको पैसेजेस के अंदर से उस आर्ग्यूमेंट को पकड़ना है, उस एजम्पशन को पकड़ना है, उस कंक्लूजन को पकड़ना है, एंड उसके बेसिस पे आपको आगे चलना है, आंसर्स को सॉल्व करना है. अब यहाँ पे दो तीन चीजें होती है कि देर आर सर्टन स्टूडेंट्स जिनको ये कॉन्सेप्ट होता है क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग का, एजम्पशन का, कंक्लूजन का, जिनको वो पढ़ना अच्छा लगता है, जिनको समझ में आता है आराम से. वाइल देर आर सम स्टूडेंट जिनको नहीं पढ़ना अच्छा लगता, उनको समझ में नहीं आता उतना आराम से. तो उनके लिए माई सजेशन इज द बेस्ट थिंग यू कैन डू इज ऑब्वियसली यू कैन सॉल्व क्वेश्चंस, एंड उसके साथ साथ यू कैन ट्राई टू सी अच्छा किस बेसिस पे कौन सा आंसर करेक्ट आता है, कौन सा आंसर गलत आता है. एंड एक बहुत जो कॉमन इसमें प्रैक्टिस है दैट इज कि आप क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करो, क्लैट के क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करो, एंड ये देखने की कोशिश करो कि किस रीजनिंग से ये आंसर आता है, किस रीजनिंग से वो आंसर आता है. तो दैट कैन बी द मोस्ट इफेक्टिव थिंग. उसके अलावा यहाँ पे हम, अब जो लॉजिकल स्प्रिंट क्लासेस हो रही है इसके अंदर, दैट्स व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू ट्राई टू हेल्प यू विद, कि हम लोग आपको यही सिखाएंगे कि एक जो क्वेश्चन बन रहा है उसमें वो रीजनिंग को पकड़ना कैसे है. आप इतने सारे लोग अपने मॉक सॉल्व करते हो तो आपको रीजनिंग नहीं समझ में आती, राइट. तो अब उस रीजनिंग को, क्लैट कंसोर्टियम की रीजनिंग को कैसे पकड़ना है. एंड अगर क्वेश्चन फिर भी ओपन एंडेड आया, ओपन एंडेड मतलब कि ऐसा हो सकता है कि दो ऑप्शंस में से एक आंसर को पिक करना कैन बी डिफिकल्ट, तो वो छोटे छोटे माइन्यूट चीजों को कैसे पकड़ना है वो हम इस सेशन में डिस्कस करना. ठीक है कनव, तो आप अ, अपनी वीडियो ऑन कर लो और फिर हम थोड़ा सा डिस्कस करना स्टार्ट करते हैं. बिफोर दैट आई हैव, हाँ कनव, यू वांटेड टू से समथिंग.
नहीं नहीं।
हाँ, तो before that, I just wanted to tell you, if you guys don't know me, so my name is Mudit Chaudhary. I'm the co-founder of the Study Anchor, and I am from NUJS Kolkata. When I gave CLAT, उस टाइम पे CLAT का पैटर्न used to have both analytical reasoning and it used to have critical reasoning. GK में it was very much in favor of both static GK and current GK. And maths उस टाइम पे DI के फॉर्म में नहीं आती थी, and the paper was of 200 marks. ठीक है, बट द असेंशियल प्रिंसिपल्स वर वेरी सिमिलर, राइट. और इस लॉजिकल स्प्रिंट क्लासेस में टुमारो वी आर आल्सो गोइंग टू डिस्कस एलेट स्पेसिफिक क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग. ठीक है, तो यू इंश्योर कि आप लोग इस क्लासेस को ढंग से अटेंड करो, तरीके से लो, एंड कोई भी प्रॉब्लम हो तो प्लीज डू आस्क अस. तो बिफोर वी स्टार्ट, anyone wants to say something, या आप चाहते हो कि there are certain things जो हमें प्रॉब्लम आती है, तो you can share that. तो उससे थोड़ा सा कनव के लिए और मेरे लिए इजी हो जाएगा ये समझना कि किस तरीके से हम इन क्लासेस को कंडक्ट करा सकते हैं. तो आप चैट विंडो में भी लिख सकते हो, एंड यू कैन ऑल्सो लेट अस नो, मतलब बोल के आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट करके भी बोल सकते हो. एनीबडी, कोई भी आपकी एक्सपेक्टेशंस हो कि मुझे ना इस टाइप के क्वेश्चंस में डाउट आता है, मुझे ये एग्जैक्टली प्रॉब्लम आती है लॉजिकल रीजनिंग में, क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग में, एंड इस टाइप के मुझे प्रॉब्ली लॉजिकल कोरोलरी टाइप के क्वेश्चंस में प्रॉब्लम आती है, या कोई भी पॉलिसी बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस में मेरे को प्रॉब्लम आती है, कुछ भी हो सकता है, यू कैन लेट अस नो हियर. तो अनमोल, यस हम जीके का भी कराएंगे इसके बाद, यस जीके का भी होगा, बट लॉजिकल वाला चीज वो समथिंग जो जिसमें लोग प्रॉब्लम फेस कर रहे हैं. एनीवन? अच्छा, एक आया है. अच्छा, सतीश ने बोला है कि आई हैव प्रॉब्लम्स रिलेटेड टू इन्फ्रेंस बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस. ठीक है. एनीबडी एल्स? और किसी को कोई भी चीज की प्रॉब्लम हो, डू लेट अस नो. प्रॉब्लम्स विद स्टेटमेंट बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस, सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजमेंट बेस्ड पैसेजेस. अच्छा, ठीक है. फिर देर इज स्ट्रेंथनिंग वीकनिंग टाइप क्वेश्चंस. ठीक है. ठीक है, चलो ठीक है. तो लेट्स पैराडॉक्स. ठीक है, ये सारी चीजें डिस्कस होंगी. अभिराज ने बोला स्कोरिंग 18s और out of 24, and after reviewing the major problems I overthink a lot between two close options and make wrong guesses. यार ये बहुत कॉमन चीज है, और उसमें बहुत माइन्यूट तरीके से पढ़ के उसको चूज करना बिकम्स द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग. ऑथर्स मेन आर्ग्यूमेंट्स, ठीक है, ये थोड़ा सा ऑथर का मेन आर्ग्यूमेंट वाला पार्ट जो है वो इंग्लिश के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से भी इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है. ठीक है, चलो ठीक है कनव, लेट अस स्टार्ट. ठीक है, एंड आई विल बी देयर टू असिस्ट यू.
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Kanav. First of all, sorry for a bad throat or something. I'm a bit feverish right now. But majorly, I've also read your like responses to what problems you're facing. But before beginning, I just want to confirm that everyone understands English and Hindi both, right? So I can switch and alternate between the two languages, right? If I could just get a thumbs up, that would be good. Uh, sure, perfect. Um, so majorly, like I just want to begin off the conversation with what, like, a very basic thing and to the core of why you are actually joining this. That is, like, what is law according to you? Like, any question, any answers would help. So, like, when you think of law, what comes to your mind, or what law actually is for? Like, what does it mean for you guys? So, just raise your hand and then I'll recognize you and then you can answer. Anyone? Guys, just and let's try to make this as interactive as possible. So, इसलिए just raise your hand. Facts, principles, justice. Makes sense. Any other answers? Anyone? And guys, like, you all want to join NLUs. So majorly NLUs maybe are very interactive classes. So maybe start putting yourself in the habit of actually answering a lot in classes. Like, so that would be very helpful. And I remember that when I used to take CLAT AILET classes, you can ask Mudit as well. So I used to like ask a lot of questions in each and every class. So I guess that was one of the things which helped me. So yeah, interpretation, sure. Okay, taking these things up, like when it comes to facts, or like, so basically if we see law is what? Law is convincing the judge about something, or law is also negotiations and all that as well. But majorly, it's all about talking. It's generally nothing but just talking, right? And critical reasoning is like the science of talking. It's just, every day we give arguments. When we do not even know, like, even at the age when we don't even know the meaning of the word argument, from that age itself, we are in a habit of actually giving arguments or evaluating arguments. So, like if I just give you an example, I believe that at the age of what, 5, you would not know what all arguments mean, but surely you would be like, you would have at least tried to convince your parents to maybe let you not sleep before 10 or sleep like something of that sort, or maybe play for more long or anything, right? So the whole point is that someone as naive or someone as like simple as a 5-year old also arguments, right? Also gives arguments, also tries to convince their parents, their friends, or something or the other. So law is a profession, right? So essentially, we'll have to have some sort of formality and all that into it. So essentially, critical reasoning is nothing but just the science of talking. It's all about arguments being there, just structuring the arguments, evaluating the arguments, understanding that what is the core of the argument, and so essentially, it just helps you figure out uh, like conversations that happen, and so and how I actually sort of improved my critical reasoning. One of the major things that I did was actually using CR in my daily life. In the sense that when I am actually having a conversation with any of my friends or parents, I would just try to understand that what are the arguments that they're giving and make mental structure of the arguments and assumptions and all that. I know it sounds a bit nerdy, but it's just something which helps you apply CR in real life. And once you know start doing such things that you keep apply things that you're studying in your real life, uh you are bound to get better at it. So I hope everyone got the point that I was trying to make. The point is that CR is very essential, and secondly, CR is something that you can actually do in your daily life. So like everyone is on board with this idea, right? Does anyone have any counter arguments to this or anything to say about it, in support, in against, anything, anyone? Um, guys, just raise your hand if you have anything to say. So, can you give some example for how you use it in your daily life? I didn't get it. Okay, so supposedly, um, let's take something as simple as that. My mother is trying to convince me that okay, so I was briefly, no, not actually briefly, but for a very long time nocturnal with regards to my sleeping schedule. That is basically that I used to sleep at in sort of in the morning and work till late hours in the night. So essentially, my sleep schedule was thoda ulta. So my mother is trying to convince me of the idea that bhai, that's not a good thing to do. You should change your sleeping schedule, right? So whenever and these conversations I've had in real life. So when she's trying to convince me of that, she would give certain arguments, right? So supposedly she would say that maybe that basically CLAT will happen in the morning. So essentially, if you are so used to actually having your brain active during night and sleeping in the morning, then that would mess it up. So that was a good point. So I would just like look at this argument on just think that okay, what is the assumption in this argument? What is the inference that I can make out of this argument? So the assumption in this argument would be something on the lines that we both agree that CLAT, I need to do good in CLAT. So that is one thing. And another assumption would be that brain activity is required during CLAT. So things like that. And sometimes you would give some third arguments. Let's just take the example that I guess some of your parents would have told you किसी न किसी के कि it's पता नहीं auspicious या ऐसा कुछ बोलते हैं कि 4 बजे उठो तो that is like कुछ word होता है कि it's like a very good time to wake up. So now if you go to the core of that argument, right? I just evaluate that argument. So I just think about it कि नहीं, it's not that strong of an argument. I know it's very simple examples, but honestly, this just helped me refine my concepts a lot. So yeah, makes sense, Om? Perfect. And also, I would appreciate if you could unmute yourself. And you guys can unmute yourself, right? Guys, anyone? Give a thumbs up if you have the ability to unmute yourself. Yeah, yeah, Swati. Perfect. So, like, let's just try to interact more, right? So, even if you have some questions, just like ask one by unmuting yourselves rather than on the chat. Sure. Before beginning, does anyone have any strategy related questions? We'll be spending few minutes here and there with regards to that, and then we'll move on to the presentation and the class. So, any strategy related or anything, any such doubts that you guys might have? Anyone? Okay, seeing none, so we'll just straight forward to the session. Can you guys confirm that my screen is visible?
Yes, it's
Perfect. Thank you, Swati. So in this class, we'll be covering the topic of assumptions, right? And that is majorly like this is all that we'll cover in this class. That is evidence, then how to identify evidence, then conclusion, then how to identify conclusion, then assumption, and then active and passive assumption. And also negation rule. It is something which helped me. Like I guess someone asked in the beginning, ki, दो ऑप्शन में narrow down करने में issue होता है. So negation rule is what I used to apply when it came to assumption वाले questions, and yeah, that is something that helped me out. Then final tips and takeaways. So yeah, then we'll have final tips and takeaways. So first of all, let's just begin with that. What is evidence? Does anyone want to give it a try before looking at the answer itself? Does anyone want to give it a try? What is evidence? Guys,
evidence are the facts that are supporting the argument of the author.
perfect. What is the name of the person who said this?
Anmol.
Anmol. Okay, yeah. Perfect, Anmol. That is the correct answer. Evidence is basically certain things that the author says in order to uh, prove his conclusion. So, or prove whatever he wants to convince us of. So, if we look at it, everything, every passage is out there. It is essentially like um, it has like a purpose, and the purpose is generally to convince us of something. And that convincing of like can you give me an example of any sort of passage that you came across and what it was trying to convince you of, or what was the purpose of that passage? Anyone? Guys, anyone? Okay. Um, guys, anyone? Any passage that you came across? Matlab, nothing particular. So, yeah. Um, guys, are you there?
Where could you repeat? I just lost some connection.
I'm just asking Swati that could you give an example of a passage that you came across and what it was trying to convince you of? Anything?
So recently I read this passage which was saying that one of the law schools is better than another law school. And then the evidences were that this law school has better campus, this law school has better professors, better alumni, and it has better placements, and it has better food. So in that way, the author was trying to convince us of an argument that I believe this particular law school is better than the other law school, and why I believe it. So he gave a lot of evidences that this campus is better, the food is better, the faculty is better in his way. So these are the kind of facts and arguments which he was giving to convince us of the argument which he is making, that a particular law school A is better than law school B.
Perfect. And also, could you, like, I suppose I know the passage that you're talking about. Could you please tell, like, what law schools it was and where you came across this passage?
Bhaiya, you know the law schools.
Oh, yeah. So, majorly, like, for the people who don't know, it was a mock that I had prepared myself. So, I just, in order to add a bit of humorous element in a vain attempt to do that, I had actually like made a passage that compared Jindal and NLU Delhi. And the whole passage was written in this way that JGLS is better than NLU Delhi. And in the end, then there was a line basically like no one would actually leave NLU Delhi for JGLS. No one would be that stupid. But the whole passage was talking about like how JGLS is better. So essentially, yes. So if you look at that passage itself, the whole argument was like up until the last line that basically you go with JGLF, right? So essentially, that was the conclusion that the author wanted to draw, that JGLS is better than NU Delhi, and provided you a bunch of evidence. Food, placements, although I believe that in absolute numbers, obviously JGLS has better placements because they genuinely have like 10x the number of students that we have. So essentially, yes. But I guess percentage wise, we are better. So that's there. And also kind of placements wise, we are better. So, but still, in that passage, it was given that absolute number wise, obviously JGLS is much better. Uh, on their day that itself, more than 120 students would get placed, maybe. So, and that is like the whole passage of New Delhi. So, yeah, that was there. So like these things which I'm mentioning, food, placements, faculty, all this is basically the evidence that the author gave in order to convince you of the idea that basically JJLS is not that good. Sorry, JJLS is better than New Delhi. So yeah, so that is called the evidence, and then your evidence is something that convinces you of the conclusion that the author wants you to draw. It can also be understood in this way. The conclusion is the what of the argument. Basically, you look at the passage and say what it wants to convince me of. And that is your conclusion. While like the evidence would tell you why of the argument. In the sense why should I be convinced of this position? Supposedly, why should I be convinced of the idea that JGLS is better than New Delhi? So that is evidence. I hope it makes sense to everyone, this portion. Guys,
Yes, Bhaiya.
Yes, Bhaiya.
perfect. And yeah. Okay, actually, let's just do a fun interactive exercise. Um, so all of you just tell me that what are your preferences. Abhiraj will come on to that. So basically, like very critically, like very theoretically speaking, in certain books, there's a difference between premise and evidence. Premise, they understand in the sense that in certain books, premise is basically the introduction part thoughts. But in a lot of books, premise and evidence are actually used interchangeably. And I also would go with that definition only. That premise is and evidence are the same. So premise, evidence, stimulus, they are the same thing. So yeah, make sense, Abhiraj? Abhiraj, just write a yes or a thumbs up would work. But yeah, let's just do an exercise. How many of you, okay, no issues. How many of you prefer, like just give your preferences, NLU, Delhi or NLS. I'm sure that, or like whatever number one college you have in your mind. But essentially, I believe it will either be NLU, Delhi or NLU, Bangalore, right? So just give out your preferences in the chat, right? Just list it out. According to you, what is the law school that you want to go to? In the chat only. NLU, Delhi, NLU, Delhi, NLU, Delhi. 1 NLS, 2 NLS, Delhi for sure, NLS, NLS, NLUD, NLUD. We have a lot of NLUD people, like people want to get into NLUD. Okay. The people who want to get into
Acha, Kanav, I just
yeah.
wanted to add one thing. So na as we have told you, the same thing is going live on YouTube also. But जो लोग YouTube पे देख रहे हैं ना, they can't interact with Kanav directly. तो मतलब ये चीज समझने की जरूरत है सब लोगों को. एंड जो ऑब्वियसली हमारे स्प्रिंट क्लासेस के स्टूडेंट्स हैं, ओनली दे कैन इंटरेक्ट विद कनव वन ऑन वन हियर. वो अपनी माइक भी ऑफ कर सकते हैं, ऑन कर सकते हैं, वो वीडियो भी ऑन करके बात कर सकते हैं, जैसे भी. ठीक है. तो ये शायद एक मतलब चीज क्लैरिफाई करने की जरूरत थी, बिकॉज लोगों को लग रहा था कि द सेम थिंग इज हैपनिंग ऑन यूट्यूब, बट यस, यू कांट इंटरेक्ट. जिस तरह अभी जैसे स्टूडेंट्स एनएलएस एनएलयू दिल्ली वाला पोल कर रहे हैं, तो यू कांट डू दैट अगर आप मीटिंग में नहीं है. तो हाँ कनव, प्लीज बोलो.
Sure. So the exercise that I want you guys to do is the people like either people, let's just start off with NLS, क्योंकि NLS is NI referent technically. So the people who give NLS as the preference, list out 3 reasons why NLS over NLU. And like in this way, we'll just decode critical reason. So anyone would like to volunteer? Any person who actually chose NLS? Anyone? Guys, in both the law colleges, you'll have to speak a lot, so get used to that. Okay, Dishta, go ahead.
I voted for NLS, and I voted for it because, first of all, personally, I really wanted to go to Bangalore, and I've been living in Delhi since like I was a child, so Delhi is a bit boring for me now. So first of that, for like that's the first point for me. But other than that, from what I've seen, NLS has a better alumni network, and I believe it has a better placement options than NLUD as of right now. And also, there's a higher prestige that is perceived overall in accordance with NLU Delhi. So that's why.
Okay, that's good enough argument. Being the only one from NLU Delhi who's actually studying in NLU Delhi right now, I'll not take the stage to counter those arguments. But any student who would actually, who is in like who wants to get into NLU Delhi or chose NLU Delhi, how would you counter Dishita's arguments? Anyone who would like to volunteer? And as to like why, like, do you think her perception is correct, or why you want to get into NLU Delhi? Like, what are your arguments for NLU Delhi? Anyone? Swati.
I would like to counter Dishita's argument because she said that she is living in Delhi since her childhood. So now she wants to shift to Bangalore because Delhi is boring for her. But if we get a contradiction of this argument, that because she is living in Delhi since her childhood, she'll not be able to adjust to the atmosphere of Bangalore. So it is better if she goes to NLU Delhi and she will be in the atmosphere which is same to her. And like if I give an evidence that the pollution levels, I mean it is not true, okay, anyways, but the pollution levels of Bangalore are not good, the environment will not suit her, so she should choose Delhi because she is living here since childhood.
Okay, that's a good argument. Any other thing that you'd like to say, like other
Swati can also add things like a food might not be suitable for Dishita, because you'll have to eat South Indian food more often there. So it basically depends on whether Dishita likes South Indian food or not.
Yes, then she'll have language barriers. We can say this that because you will have, and then there are a lot more things like the environment will not suit you. There's pollution, there is traffic which you are not used to. I mean, of course, these are not true, but
traffic is true, but sure. So yeah,
Delhi traffic.
Bangalore traffic is way worse. But yes, so these are essentially good counter arguments, right? So honestly, this is CR. Like, and also if anyone else would like to give certain more arguments or counter arguments, anything. Yeah, Kaushiki, I guess. So, yeah. Kaushiki, go ahead if I pronounce anything like correct.
Hello, am I audible?
Perfectly fine. Yeah.
The proximity to the Supreme Court for NLU Delhi.
Yeah, that's a good argument. So you choose NLU Delhi over NLS, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Her hostel fees can be saved.
Hostel fees can be saved. Who said that?
Anmol.
Okay, hostel fees can be saved if you live like very close to Dwarka. But essentially, I would also not recommend that, like in general, because like hostel life is something that you should enjoy and have. It's like a different experience. Okay, another argument that we have is ex-CGI Chandrachud joined NLU Delhi recently. I saw in news.
Delhi have better internships options.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, like a lot of NLS students come to Delhi only for their internships because it's very natural. Supreme Court is there, Parliament is there, सब कुछ इधर है. So yeah, पर
Fees of NLU Delhi is more affordable than that of Bangalore.
is it? I don't know. So
It's a bit less than NLU Bangalore.
I guess like
Most probably.
I guess it's just a difference of few thousand. I guess is in NLU की भी अच्छी खासी फी है. It's 3.75 lakhs. So it's good enough. And I guess हाँ NLS के हमसे ज़्यादा है पर थोड़ी ज़्यादा है. But I'm sure that's again. So essentially, you know, if you look at anything that law is about, law is genuinely about just convincing the other person of your perspective. Usually the judge, right? अब जैसे इसका एक बहुत अच्छा example I believe is the dogs वाला thing which is going on in Supreme Court, right? We know कि one of the judges ordered कि सारे जो भी दिल्ली में dogs हैं इनको shelter houses में डाल दो. So essentially now there are two sides of the argument. One says कि भाई we don't have executionary capacity इतनी, right? So like it will be very messed up doing it. Like execution will be very difficult. Secondly, इतने cases नहीं है कि मतलब रेबीज वगैरह की कि इतना सीरियस हो कि सारे डॉग्स को अंदर डाल दो. Secondly, counter argument है कि हाँ पता नहीं, like they are very disputed facts, but thousands of people get rabies or get infected. A lot of people die because that essentially the case was also of a person who died because of a dog bite. So, but it's all about convincing the other person, right? And it is just this, like CR is just genuinely this, arguments and counter arguments, right? So, but, and you know, like essentially in each and everything, you just have to like like this one habit which I want you to inculcate कि जब भी कोई argument देता है किसी के बारे में, जब जैसे इसमें भी अगर हम देखें someone gave this argument ki DYC joined NLU Delhi. So by the way, yeah, just a few things there. Not only DYC, but Harish Salve and Luthra, Siddharth Luthra also joined NLU Delhi. So really good. But essentially, we have not had a lecture up until now from either of them, but we hope to have it soon. And these are certain very prominent names, but इससे पहले भी there were a lot of people. जैसे you might not know this person, but it's Aniruddha Rajput. So he was the only non-civil servant member of International Law Commission from India. So very learned person in international law. I guess one of the most learned in throughout the world. So essentially, like we had such professors pehle bhi, and yeah, it's very great. So essentially, अगर हम ये argued देखें कि DYC has joined, the assumption in this is that like what would be the assumption in this argument? Can anyone think of that? Anyone? Guys, anyone? Way to learned faculty. Do you think that's the assumption?
Assumption could be that learned professors or faculty choose NLU Delhi over any other law school.
That would be an inference. Because, so now here we'll try to understand what is assumption and what is inference. I believe this is a very good point to actually go back into the session and just try to understand. And I'll ask you the same question again after the end of the slides and everything, and then try to answer it. So that's the question for everyone. What Abhiraj wrote, that ex-CGI joined NLU Delhi recently, and it being an argument for joining NLU Delhi. So what is the inherent assumption in it? That NLU Delhi is so prestigious and have so prestigious teachers and professionals. That is again an inference, Tanuja. Now we'll try to understand that why it is different. NLU Delhi can give us more opportunities.
Can we say students will get to learn more?
That is again an inference from this line specifically, right? So we'll talk about it. But let's just get back into the slide at this moment. But I just did this exercise ताकि हम थोड़ा interactive हो, थोड़ा ice breaking हो. And apparently CLAT aspirants को बस NLS versus NLUD तो एक बहुत ही ऐसा heartfelt topic है. But essentially we'll just start off with evidence and conclusion, right? Okay. Now here we have certain words. I want you to make a note of these words. These are certain words which help you identify the evidence in a passage. Because since given that for, as shown by, seeing as indicated by, the reason is that. So these are basically certain words जिससे आप evidence ढूंढते हो. I used it, मतलब मैं एक mental note बना के रखता था, तो essentially it just got me more aware. जब मैं passage पढ़ रहा था तब जैसे if you would have given TSA के mocks, so essentially we have tried to make it much more difficult now ताकि you are just ready for every eventuality. And I personally believe मतलब मैंने बहुत मुश्किल मॉक्स दिए थे. मैंने मॉक्स के अलावा कैट के पैसेजेस दिए थे, जीमैट के पैसेजेस दिए थे, and that is a very big reason as to why I got AIR2. क्योंकि I was prepared at another level with regards to difficulty. मतलब तो मेरे लिए नॉर्मल पैसेजेस तो बहुत इजी थे, and A-late CLAT वाले पैसेजेस जेन्युइनली बहुत इजी लगे थे. तो हाँ, सो एसेंशियली अच्छा आइडिया वही है कि रीडिंग स्पीड इतनी होनी चाहिए और डिफिकल्ट पैसेजेस करने आने चाहिए. तो अगर आप टीएसए के मॉक्स देखोगे उसमें व्हाट वी हैव डन इज लाइक इट्स लाइक अ वेरी बिग पैसेज, इट्स लाइक वेरी वेरी डिफिकल्ट बिकॉज़ द पैसेजेस आर वेरी बिग. इट्स लाइक 2000 वर्ड्स का भी पैसेज वगैरह होते हैं. सो हाउ डू यू navigate yourself through these 2000 word के passages and everything? Obviously it's not possible कि आपको 2000 words के 2000 words पे अच्छे से ध्यान देना है. Only select few parts have to be emphasized upon, and that those specific parts you can only understand when you know these key terms. अब जैसे 2000 वर्ड का पढ़ रहे हो, पता है कहीं ना कहीं लिथार्जी आ जाती है, बट व्हेन आई लाइक पढ़ते पढ़ते कि हाँ ठीक है नॉर्मल ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, फिर एकदम से व्हेन यू कम अक्रॉस दिस वर्ड, एटलीस्ट दैट्स व्हाट आई यूज्ड टू डू. आई यूज्ड टू रिमेंबर देम, और फिर जैसे मेरे को दिखते थे आई जस्ट गॉट अलर्ट कि ओके एविडेंस आ रहा है किसी चीज का. सो अब ध्यान दे लेते हैं, ज्यादा ध्यान से पढ़ना है, स्लो डाउन कर लेते हैं. मतलब ध्यान तो पूरे पैसेज में देते हैं, ऐसा नहीं कि, पर यस. नाउ coming on to what is conclusion, I guess conclusion I've already told. That is the what of the argument, right? Like what the author is trying to convince you of. So that is the conclusion. I hope there are no doubts up until now. If any doubts are there, then please raise your hand. Anyone? Okay, seeing none, that's good. We'll just move forward. Now, these are certain words which help you identify conclusion just like evidence. So again, make mental note and try to use them in your passage.
Excuse me?
Yeah,
We will get the PDF of this.
sure. I guess Mudit Priya is better suited to answer that question, but I suppose yes. Make sense, Anmol?
हाँ 100% we'll
Yes,
get it.
yes.
Sure, perfect. Now I want you guys to do this one exercise. कि ये एक passage है, इसमें just identify conclusion and evidence, nothing else. So I'll give you 2 minutes. I believe it's enough. तो 2 minute में just जल्दी से identify conclusion and evidence in this. And you can share your answers in the chat box. I guess 1 minute is enough. 2 minutes ज़्यादा हो जाएगा. So just give me a thumbs up once you are done reading all this. Or like we'll assemble at like 11:42. So you have 1 whole minute आराम से. So yes, guys, I hope you're done with it.
Yes, Priya.
Okay, tell me what is the evidence. Wait, I'll stop sharing the answers on the case. So yeah, tell me what are the what is the evidence according to you guys? Anyone, mic on करके बोल दो. Anyone?
Priya, the evidence is, I think that people don't like visiting in rainy season. People don't visit in rainy seasons because the roads are not, meant properly. And the conclusion will be that people will visit this year in the rainy season as well. And the assumption was that because the roads are not good, that's why people do not visit in the rainy season.
Perfect. Anyone who has a different answer? Anyone? Okay, because in the chats as well, everyone has given the same answer, so that's good. Okay. My screen is sharing, right?
No, Bhaiya, the PDF is not visible. Thus, the Zoom meeting is visible.
I guess now it's visible.
It is visible, Bhaiya.
It's visible, perfect. So yeah, people don't like to visit the Evergreen Wildlife Park in rainy season. Okay. This year, the park authorities have reconstructed all the roads inside the park. Therefore, people will likely to visit. How to identify conclusion? One good way would be this key term being here. Just this key term being here, that is therefore. As I mentioned, upari, ki therefore is a good word to identify conclusion. So I know ki bhai, for a fact, this conclusion, people will like to visit park. Now, what is the evidence? Very strictly speaking, theoretically, the evidence is formed by just this part. The park authorities have reconstructed all the roads inside the park. That forms our evidence. And so yeah, this could be understood in the sense of an introduction thoughts. That basically first they just told you कि भाई लोगों को नहीं पसंद. फिर वो कहते हैं कि अब roads बन गए हैं, नहीं, तो अब लोगों को पसंद आना, right? Now guys, now what is assumption? Anyone has any idea कि assumption क्या है? What is assumption? Like what do you mean by assumption?
Anything which we assume on ourselves to reach the conclusion.
Perfect, good answer. Anyone else who has a different answer या फिर ऐसा मतलब और कुछ बोलना है?
Like,
Yeah, go ahead, Anmol.
assumption is the unstated fact that is the backbone of the author's argument, I guess.
Good. Yes, assumption is a bridge between evidence and conclusion. Okay, any other answers? A hidden or unstated idea that must be true for argument's conclusion to hold, but not directly stated in the passage. Perfect. So all of you have a very perfect understanding of what assumption is. Assumption is genuinely just conclusion and evidence ke beech ka bridge, as Akshit said. So, like basically the way we can understand it is assumption plus evidence equals conclusion. Right. Here, if you look at this passage, conclusion, people will visit. People visit. Evidence, roads reconstruction. Now tell me what is the assumption in this particular question. Passage, sorry. Any ideas? What would be the assumption here?
Assumption will be
Yeah, go ahead, anyone. It's fine.
assumption should be something that need to support conclusion. So we need to assume here the people are not just visiting the Evergreen Wildlife Park because of like not proper roads.
Perfect. That is exactly the assumption. Why people are not visiting, that's because roads are not good. So yeah, essentially roads not being good is the connecting factor, because if we don't assume that roads is the reason why people are essentially not visiting, then this whole argument would not stand, right? Supposedly, let's take that people don't visit in the rainy season because animals just go and take up the, like it happens in national parks as well. that they take the high ground. So the safaris are at the lower ground itself. So they are at a lower elevation. So they climb up mountains or any peaks or any hills or any elevation that they can find so as to save them from the water of the rain, right? Waterlogging or any such issues or a flood that might happen. So essentially, that's why people don't visit, because animals are not visible. Now, do whatever you may want to do off roads. Animals are not visible, so people will not visit in a sense. So that is your conclusion. So now your conclusion and evidence would not stand, right? If I assume this, the thing that, people don't visit because of animals not being there, right? Does it make sense that if I assume this new thing, then conclusion and evidence do not stand, right? Guys, a yes or no?
Yes, Priya.
Perfect. So assumption is nothing that, so basically assumption has to be something which connects the conclusion and the evidence. And in this case, the only assumption which can be there is that people are not visiting because of roads, right? Anyone has any doubt in this? Because it's very fundamental to your understanding. So anyone has any doubt? Anyone? Okay. Seeing none, let's move forward. So yeah, think of assumption. You guys already said this, so you know all, but I'll just repeat. Unstated evidence or bridge between the evidence and the conclusion. Bridge collapses, you cannot arrive at conclusion from the given evidence. So evidence plus assumption equals conclusion. So yeah, now these are certain tricks and things which help me out. First is, a correct assumption will support the author's claim, obviously. Must be a necessary statement. Can anyone help me understand this? What does this mean? Must be a necessary statement.
That without that particular statement, we cannot reach on the conclusion.
Perfect.
If we do not assume that because of road the people are not coming, then we cannot reach on the conclusion that because the roads are mended, so people would come.
Perfect. Perfect. So yes, must be a necessary statement in that sense that it is necessary for the conclusion and evidence to stand and the argument to flow. Then if an assumption is negated, denied, then the author's claims get damaged or weakened. Can anyone explain this statement?
If we say that the construction of the road is not the reason, that means that people will come because the road is constructed. This conclusion will not stand true anymore.
Exactly. So if you negate the assumption, then the whole argument does not stand, right? And honestly, use the negation trick. That is it. Negation trick is generally this: when you have 4 options in the assumption, and there's a question that which of the following is the assumption in this particular para or whatever, and you have 4 things which are stated. You just negate them. मतलब उसका उल्टा कर लो, right? And then you see कि अब if I assume this, जो ये उल्टी statement है, does the argument stand? If the answer comes yes, then that is not the assumption. But if the answer comes no, कि अब मैं अगर इस statement को उल्टा करके पढ़ता हूँ, तो no, argument does not stand. Then that is the assumption. Like in this example, roads, our assumption is roads were the reason why people were not visiting. Now let's take roads were not the reason why people were not visiting. So the argument would not stand that if roads were not the reason and you reconstructed roads, तो लोग तो नहीं आ रहे ना, लोग तो किसी और वजह से मतलब नहीं आ रहे थे. So essentially, that is the point. So you negate the assumption and the whole argument would not stand. So negation trick is nothing but just use this, negate all the 4 options that are there or any option that you're confused in. See if after negating the argument stands. If the answer is yes, then that is not the assumption. If the argument is no, then that is the assumption. Cannot be a statement that already stated by the author. That is to be done and will not be beyond the scope of the author's argument. So yeah, suppose the author's argument will not be beyond scope and cannot be a statement which has already been stated by the author. Does it make sense to everyone?
Yes,
Priya.
Perfect.
Yes.
So yeah, that is the conclusion. Now, does anyone have any idea about active and passive assumptions? Anyone? Guys, anyone? Okay. So basically, in any passage, there would be a number of assumptions. Let's just take like this example. This it takes 4 hours to cover the distance between A and T by bus. John boarded a bus at A city that is scheduled to depart for T city at 10 a.m. If the bus departs on time, John will reach well in time to attend his interview schedule for 4. What are the assumptions here, guys? First of all, what is the conclusion here? Guys, anyone?
That if the bus will reach on time, that if the bus is will be on time, then only John will reach for his interview on time.
Then what will be, if this is the conclusion, then what is the evidence, Swati?
That he has an interview scheduled for 4 p.m. in some other city, and that bus will take him at 10 p.m. So he'll be able to reach by 4 p.m. 10 a.m. So you're able
You're
to.
thoda sa confusing it, but basically, anyone else would like to give it a try as well?
The conclusion is him reaching at 4 p.m.
Okay. And evidence?
No, the assumption will be him starting at 10 a.m. that the bus started on time. That will be the assumption.
See, your conclusion was correct, but your evidence is wrong. Let me tell you, like, anyone else would like to give it a try? थोड़ा सा tricky, but sure, ऐसे ही समझ में आएगा. But
Bhaiya, the evidence would be that it takes 4 hours to travel between the
okay,
two cities, and that the John has boarded the bus at 10 a.m. and that the bus departs on time and he will reach the other city at 2.
okay. So what is the conclusion? Anyone?
Bhaiya, the conclusion will be
You're very close
that
to it.
uh, John will reach the city in time to attend his interview at
Perfect.
4.
Perfect. What was your name? I cannot see your name. So
Dishita.
yeah, acha. I could not recognize your voice. So yeah, Dishita, that is correct. So majorly, the conclusion will be this part, that John will reach well in time to attend his interview. Evidence: John boarded the bus. It takes 4 hours to cover the distance, and if the bus departs on time, so that is given in the passage itself. So majorly, if you have to understand it in like one liner, conclusion: John will reach in time. Evidence: the bus departs on time. Simple as that. That is the evidence. That is the conclusion. Now, guys, what one of you mentioned, कि assumption main है कि it will not get delayed. But also there are certain passive assumptions. Passive assumptions are जैसे ये, the bus will not have a flat tire. The bus will not be struck by lightning. The bus will not be attacked by gunmen. The bus driver will not decide to go to some other city. So हर चीज में बहुत तरह के assumptions होते हैं, right? तो active assumption is the main assumption, and passive assumptions are just थोड़े side assumptions which we still can assume, right? Does this make sense to everyone?
Yes, Bhaiya.
Perfect. But just to reiterate, तो हर एक passage में जैसे अगर simple as that, if I just tell you that I am talking to someone on call, okay, I'm talking to someone on a WhatsApp call, then what would be certain assumptions here? Anyone?
You have your Wi-Fi, your data working.
Perfect. That is one assumption. Any other assumption? We both have phones. Third, we both have WhatsApp. So essentially, yeah. तो देखो एक तरह से बहुत सारे assumptions होते हैं, but active assumption is the main thing which keeps it intact. Passive assumptions are certain possibilities which, yeah, we say कि will not happen, but it's just मतलब these are two far distant possibilities, right? ये कौन से होते हैं, bus will not have flat tires, although these are true, ये हम assume कर रहे होते हैं जब हम बोलते हैं, but these are just too distant. पहले तो mind में ही आता ना, bus will not get delayed. And also someone had asked that question beginning में, जैसे कि दो option में कैसे वो करो. So honestly, a lot of times you just have to go with your gut feeling, and honestly, this gut feeling is subconsciously a result of so much you have read and everything. अब जैसे ग्रामर है, बहुत सारे लोग ग्रामर मतलब फील आ जाती है, चार ऑप्शन देखे क्या आंसर सही होगा, राइट? You don't have to go through theory for it. So honestly, one way that I had like dealt with this issue was कि I used to go with my gut feeling and अपना overthink नहीं करने का time देता था अपने आप को. So that is one thing which I like tried not to overthink. जो पहला मेरे को सही लग रहा है I used to mark it, and that strategy usually works. So yeah, negation rule I had explained basically. So yeah, we still have 3 minutes left. So we'll just do this one quick question. You have 2 minutes to solve this. 1 minute we'll discuss the question. Which of the following is an assumption? But before starting this, anyone has any doubts? Guys, anyone has any doubts? Okay, seeing
Sir,
none.
if we have no better option given in the question, so we can choose the restatement if we have no other better option.
If you have no other better option, and a lot of times Anmol CLAT के answers as we know are not perfect. तो बहुत बार होता है कि हाँ restatement is correct, but वो restatement इस way में होता है कि it's like a very मतलब थोड़ा अलग way से उन्होंने restate कर दिया. तो कभी कभार yes, you can actually do that.
Okay, thank you.
No issues. Any other doubts? Okay, seeing none, let's solve this question. You guys have 2 minutes. We'll assemble at 12. Everyone can see the question? And then also we'll just do that one final wala question in LUD wala. So yeah.
कनक ऑप्शंस देख ले एक बार ठीक से दिख रहे हैं नहीं दिख रहे.
Everyone just confirm if they can see the whole thing. See. Yeah, now it's perfect. Okay, time guys. Put in the option that you have. मतलब जो भी whatever option. Okay, a lot of you done that. Option C, majority. Can anyone just explain this अच्छे से? Why option C?
Bhaiya, can I?
Go ahead, Krista.
So what I thought was that the evidence in this would be that over the past 6 years, most of the students have attended the college in the Macon city for their degrees, and that the college in the city are expected to raise their fees to almost the same level as the other city's college.
Okay, so
And then my conclusion was that the colleges in the Tupac city would see a surge in the number of students enrolling for the graduate degrees. And what assumption I thought of was that the main reason students would go to Mekong College is because of the lower fees, because the whole thing was about the fees only. And if the fees are equal, then the students will prefer to stay in the first college only instead of going to the other.
okay, perfect. And so Meji, I'll just explain it, and you did a very good job there. But majorly the conclusion here is यहाँ बहुत clearly लिखा है, therefore it can be concluded that conclusion is TUPAC City will see a surge in the number of students enrolling with them to pursue graduate degrees. Evidence is Mekong City अपने प्राइजेस बढ़ा रहा है, सिंपल एज दैट. तो अब ट्राई करो कि हर पैसेज में ना थोड़े वन लाइनर में ही अपने एविडेंस और कंक्लूजन को ब्रेक डाउन कर पाओ, जस्ट बिकम्स इजियर टू थिंक. सो अब कंक्लूजन ये हो गया कि भाई देयर विल बी अ सर्ज इन द नंबर ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स एनरोलिंग इन ट्यूपैक सिटी. एविडेंस हो गया कि मेकॉन सिटी ने अपनी फीस बढ़ा दी है. तो अजम्पशन ऑब्वियसली यही है कि एनीथिंग व्हिच कनेक्ट्स देम टू द टू ऑफ देम हैज टू बी रिलेटेड टू फीस. सो गो थ्रू ऑप्शंस, राइट, ऑल्दो इट्स वेरी क्लियर एट द इंस्टेंस की हाँ यही है कि TUPAC the people were not enrolling because of money, but still, so we just have to find an option which talks about fees from these. So option A, the teacher at colleges in Mekong City are generally considered vital. Teachers is not the thing which we are talking about, not mentioned, so out of scope of the passage. TUPAC City does not have good quality colleges, कहीं नहीं लिखा है, ठीक है. In fact इसका opposite ही infer कर सकते हो आप, पर out of the scope. The low fees charged by colleges and Mekong is the primary reason. Fees के बारे में बात कर रहा है, सही लग रहा है, if that is the answer, but yes, but still let's just go through D and E. Students who study at colleges in TUPAC City do not perform better. Again, performance की कहीं कुछ बात नहीं है, तो मतलब conclusion और evidence के बीच में, तो that's not the answer. Then final, Mekong City does not have more colleges in TUPAC. Again, number has also not been discussed. So simple option C would be the answer, which a lot of you got right. So essentially now just a last wala practice which I had said. So in the beginning we had said ki what we had. So someone had said that people, the conclusion was that NLU Delhi over NLS. Evidence being DYC has joined this college. What would be the assumption in this particular passage or whatever you say, argument? Anyone? Do you want me to repeat the question? Anyone?
Yeah, please.
Sure. So someone in the beginning had said that NLU Delhi is better. That was the conclusion. And evidence they gave was that DYC, DY Chandrachud, has joined the college. So what would be the assumption here?
I think the assumption is that DYC joining NLU Delhi will significantly improve the academic quality or reputation of the college, enough to make it better than every other law school.
I hope it does that. But yeah, that is very close. So essentially, to simply put it, would be having DYC is good for education and reputation. And he's a good teacher. Something on those lines. So that would be the evidence. So anything, assumption. Anything in the, if you get, obviously you will not get such a option, especially not in CLAT. But basically, if you get this kind of thing, so any option which talks about around this idea that basically DYC is a better, like DYC is good for reputation or he's a good educator in general, then that would be the answer. So yeah, makes sense and well done, Vaishnavi and a lot of people. So yeah, makes sense, everyone?
Yes, Bhaiya.
Perfect.
Yes.
So anyone has any doubts in general, kuch bhi, because with this we come to an end of the first session.
What's the difference between conclusion and inference?
So yes, like Kaushik, although this is thoda matlab difficult to explain itna jaldi, but in like we have the CR bullets course for that, so you can refer to that as well. I guess Muditya will pitch in about
अच्छा,
it.
मैं बता देता हूँ उसके बारे में. सो गाइस, पता है क्या है, कनव ने क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग के एक एक टॉपिक को इन डेप्थ लाइक हाफ एन आवर प्रॉपर एक्सप्लेन करते हुए एंड क्या प्रॉब्लम्स आ सकती है, वो एक ही हैज मेड अ कोर्स ऑन इट. इट्स कॉल्ड सीआर बुलेट्स. जो हमारे स्टडी एंकर के स्टूडेंट्स हैं उनके लिए तो एक्सेसिबल है वो, बट आप जो बाहर वाले हो ना, तो यू कैन एक्सेस दैट कोर्स. और उसमें इन डेप्थ ईच एंड एवरी, मतलब उस कोर्स के बाद यू विल नॉट नीड एनी हेल्प इन क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग. ठीक है, अभी आज और कल में भी ट्राई टू कवर एज मच एज पॉसिबल, बट दैट इज समथिंग जो और ज्यादा आपको हेल्प कर सकता है. तो अभी के लिए व्हाट वी कैन डू इज यू गाइस टेक अ 15 मिनट्स ब्रेक. ठीक है, द सेकेंड क्लास विल स्टार्ट बाय ऑलमोस्ट 12:20. ठीक है, तो आप लोग उसमें ज्वाइन करो. द यूट्यूब स्ट्रीम इज नाउ डन. अब जो नेक्स्ट सेशन है दे विल नॉट बी स्ट्रीम्ड ऑन यूट्यूब. इफ एनीवन वांट्स टू ज्वाइन, तो वी हैव लिंक्ड अ कमेंट इन द चैट बॉक्स ऑन यूट्यूब, तो आप वहां से भी ज्वाइन कर सकते हो. पर बाकी सब लोग एक काम करना, अगले सेशन में विल हैव डिस्कशन आल्सो एंड विल आल्सो टेक योर डाउट्स, अगर आपके कोई डाउट है स्पेसिफिक. ठीक है, तो आप इस मीटिंग को लीव कर सकते हो. and let's see you there in the next meeting in the next 15 minutes. Okay? Okay.